most awarded in Cleveland. News 5 at 11 starts now.
Now at 11. Early morning gunfire causing panic in the streets of an Akron neighborhood.
My heart dropped, like straight into my stomach.
Leaving one dead, dozens injured, and a whole community on edge.
It's very concerning to me that this is Akron.
The latest on a massive party turned tragic, making national headlines.
We are imploring the community to come forward with anything that you might know regarding this terrible incident.
Tonight, a city mourns as police frantically search for those responsible.
Anyone who was involved in last night's shooting will be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
Good evening. Thanks for being with us. I'm Rob Powers. A chaotic night turned into a morning and a day of shock and disbelief. That Akron community is now searching for answers after 25 people were shot during a street party on the city's east side. One of those victims, a 27-year-old man, was killed. This all happened near the intersection of Kelly Avenue and 8th Street. Shortly after midnight, police responded to several 911 calls for reports of shots fired and multiple injuries. News 5 was the only local television station at the scene shortly after shots rang out in the early morning hours. You can see police evidence markers scattering up and down the street. City officials in Akron addressed the shooting at a news conference. News 5 investigator Tara Morgan was there. She has the latest now as law enforcement works to find out who's responsible.
An urgent call out from Akron's mayor and police chief about the deadly street party shooting. Police say there's evidence that indicates this may have been a drive-by where a rifle was used. With no suspects and a few leads in a deadly street party shooting, city leaders make a desperate plea.
There are people out there who know the person or persons involved, and I implore you to speak up.
This whole street was where the block party was.
But gunshots and screams were captured on surveillance at the home of former councilwoman Tara Mosley Weems.
It didn't seem like Akron. It seemed like a war zone.
Police say officers first went to Kelly and 8th Avenues for loud noise and fireworks late Saturday night. About 200 people took over the street, but the crowd began to break up. About an hour later, gunfire and people filling emergency rooms.
The scene was littered with spent shell casings, mostly pistol caliber rounds.
Police Chief Brian Harding says based on the layout of the shell casings, it appeared to be a drive-by. 2 handguns were recovered.
We believe that some individuals at the party may have returned fire.
The sheer number of victims is shocking and deeply concerning.
The 25 victims between 19 and 43 years old. 4 of the wounded are related to Juanita Tucker.
Yes, it was my nephew's birthday party, and he has it, every year. And obviously someone, saw the chance to come and just wreck things and hurt people.
There's now concern for retaliation. Mayor Shamus Malik says they hope to make an arrest soon before that happens.
We have many detectives that are out canvassing. We'll have additional patrols in the area and additional patrols out as well. We've also partnered with some of our federal and state partners as well.
The chief and mayor say they are aware of community distrust in law enforcement and are working to develop relationships.
That's why we have multiple ways to remain anonymous. We're asking for the information.
City leaders say there were more than 100 people who possibly witnessed what happened, and they're hoping they will share what they saw. In Akron, I'm News 5 investigator Tara Morgan.
As the city and the actual victims begin recovering from the trauma brought on by the shooting, our Nadine Abusada met with community members as they gathered to pray for peace and reflect on ways to curb violence in Akron and across the country.
It was an event that was already planned where 50 worship leaders and pastors from across the area plan to come together and pray for their community. But given what took place last night, they say God's timing couldn't have been more perfect. Inside the faith place, hundreds gathered for worship and prayer.
So really the event was about pastors coming together, uniting, being one.
The church event was planned in advance, bringing in dozens of worship leaders from across the area to praise together. But last night's shooting,
and I think the church was somewhat traumatized by hearing that news.
Had the prayers focused on the city.
He knows everything. He knew that last night was going to happen, but he also knew today was going to happen and that we would need to bring the body of Christ together.
Overnight, 25 people were injured and 1 killed after someone opened gunfire at a street party.
People are not only getting hurt, but people are hurting. And pain and hurt that is not transformed just gets transmitted.
The shooting sent shockwaves throughout the community, especially affecting those like Kemp Boyd, who work to help Akron thrive.
You know, I don't want Akron just to be seen as a city that is full of violence, because I think there's a lot of great things going on in our city.
But Boyd believes to bring impactful change, it'll take the masses.
I think it has to be a collective effort across every sector in our community.
Especially those in the church.
We have to take our city back.
In a time like now, the sanctuary is a place where people like Nicolette Decatur are finding their peace.
This is where we get our strength. But the strength that we get right now is because we come in here to get strength so we can go out there and do the work. The work is out there.
Also hope that together they can help the city grow.
So I believe after this, pastors are going to meet again sooner than later because of this particular event. And we're going to see how we need to move.
Reporting in Akron, Medina Busada, News 5.
So as of now, we still don't know the identity of the 27-year-old killed. Authorities have yet to release that information. 2 people still in critical condition as well. Police said they found 2 handguns at the scene, as well as different kinds of shell casings, including some from a rifle. There's no suspect yet, but a combined reward of $12,500 is being offered for information that leads to an arrest. This all happened in an area that has seen a string of gun violence in the last couple of months. Less than 2 weeks ago, May 21st, a 19-year-old was shot on Minson Way. His injuries were not life-threatening, and at last check, no arrests had been made. We were there earlier in May when a 15-year-old girl was shot on that same street. Police said she'd been struck in an arm and the chest. They arrested 2 other teens for that shooting, and that 15-year-old also survived. And in April, a 35-year-old man was taken to a local hospital with a gunshot wound to his neck. He was shot on Weeks Street. Police said a home and a car were also struck in that shooting. There's no word on any arrests in that case. You know, News 5 will be staying on top of this and bring you every update as we learn new information about what happened in Akron overnight. You can follow our continuing coverage on the News 5 app, news5cleveland.com, and our News 5 streaming app.